Good morning, I'm Rachel Hall. It is a Friday, the 18th day of July, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Grising intensifies into a tropical storm as it nears northern Luzon. Based on the forecast track, a landfall over mainland Cagayan or the Babuyan Islands is possible this afternoon. The Philippine Coast Guard divers recover 4 sacks of suspected human remains during the search for missing Sabongeros as Taal volcano experiences a minor phreatomagmatic eruption on Thursday afternoon, July 17. And the country is now home to 112.7 million Filipinos. That's according to the 2024 Census of Population released by the Philippine Statistics Authority. However, the data also confirms a continuing trend of slower growth. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. Grising has intensified into a tropical storm as it approaches northern Luzon. Pag-asa last spotted its center some 325 kilometers east of Tuguegarao City in Cagayan. Grising packs maximum winds of up to 65 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 80 kph. The tropical storm will move generally northwestward within the next 12 hours. It may make landfall over mainland Cagayan or Babuyan Islands by this afternoon or evening. Grising will then traverse over extreme northern Luzon until it exits the Philippine Area of Responsibility by tomorrow afternoon. Tropical cyclone wind signal number 2 is now up over Batanes, Cagayan, including Babuyan Islands, northern and eastern portions of Isabela, Apayao, northern portion of Kalinga, northern portion of Abra, Ilocos Norte, northern portion of Ilocos Sur. While at least 20 areas flashed on your screen are now under signal number 1. And for more updates on Tropical Storm Grising, we have Pag-asa weather forecaster back on the show, Glyza Escolar. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Magandang umaga din po sa inyo at para po sa latest sa bagyong Grising, ang Tropical Storm Grising ay huling namataan po natin alas 7 ng umaga sa layong 250 km silangan ng Tuguegarao City sa Cagayan. Taglay pa rin po nito ang lakas na hangin na 65 km per hour malapit sa gitna at bugsong umaabot naman hanggang 80 km per hour. Inaasahang kikilos pahilagang kanluran sa bilis na 15 km per hour. Inaasahan na ito ay lalapit dito po sa may mainland Cagayan between 6 to 9 p.m. mamaya at inaasahang magtutuloy-tuloy po dito po sa may bahagi po ng northern tip ng mainland Luzon at dito po sa may Babuyan Islands. At nakataas nga po ang wind signal number 2 dito po sa Batanes, Cagayan. Kasama na po dyan ang Babuyan Islands, the northern at eastern portions ng Isabela, Apayao, northern portion ng Kalinga, northern portion ng Abra, Ilocos Norte at northern portion ng Ilocos Sur. Wind signal number 1 naman po ang nakataas sa nalalabing bahagi ng Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, nalalabing bahagi ng Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, nalalabing bahagi ng Abra, Benguet, nalalabing bahagi ng Ilocos Sur, La Union, northern portion ng Pangasinan, northern portion ng Aurora at northeastern portion ng Nueva Ecija. Inaasahan din po na may pagbugso ng hangin dun po sa mga areas po ngayong araw na apektado ng habagat. Asahan ang pagbugso ng hangin naman kahit wala pong wind signal dito po sa Batangas, Quezon Province, sa lalabing bahagi ng Bicol Region, Mimaropa, Visayas, Zamboanga del Norte, Camiguin, Misamis Oriental, Surigao del Norte, Dinagat Islands, Davao Occidental, Davao Oriental, at Sarangani. Inaasahang kikilos po ang bagyong Grising generally northwestward sa loob ng 12 oras at inaasahan po ang landfall scenario dito po sa mainland Cagayan o sa Babuyan Islands late afternoon or evening po. At inaasahan din pong patuloy itong lalakas at maging severe tropical storm bago po ito, o dito po sa may bahagi po ng extreme northern Luzon bago po ito mag-exit ng Philippine Area of Responsibility. Yan po ang latest mula dito sa Weather Forecasting Center ng Pag-asa. Ito si Glyza Esculiar, nag-uulat.
Glyza, ito ba ay maaaring maging isang typhoon sa nakikita po ninyo or hanggang severe tropical storm lamang?
Pinakamataas po ang chance na ito'y maging severe tropical storm. Kung sakali po ito po ay maging typhoon, ay likely po ito po ay malayo na po sa Philippine Area of Responsibility.
Ano po ang dapat paghandaan ng Cagayan? Nabanggit nyo nga po, ang landfall ay maaaring mangyari ngayong late afternoon o kaya sa gabi. Ano ang dapat nilang paghandaan?
So dahil po ang inaasahan po nating landfall early evening at ito pong paggabi po, no? So inabisuhan po natin yung ating mga kababayan na sumunod po sa mga abiso po ng lokal na opisyal po o yung PDRRMO po nila. Kung may evacuation na pinapatupad ay sumunod lamang po. Ito naman po ay para sa ating kaligtasan. Lalo na po paggabi po yung dating po ng bagyo. At para po naman sa ating mga kababayan na apektado ng habagat, ganun din po ang aming paalala. Sumunod lamang po sa ating mga local officials para po sa ating kaligtasan. Yun lang po ang advice po ng Pag-asa.
So magiging maulan po ngayong buong araw ng Biyernes at Sabado.
Opo, tama po yan. Maulan po ngayon hanggang bukas po. Lalo na po dito sa Metro Manila at ilang pang bahagi po o western portion po ng ating bansa.
Okay. So magdala ng payong at maghanda ng maigi. Kailan po lalabas ito ulit?
Inaasahan po natin na makakalabas po ng Philippine Area of Responsibility ang bagyong ito ng hapon po ng Sabado.
Hapon ng Sabado, okay. Glyza, pagdating naman sa rainfall, no, kahapon you mentioned mga 50 to 100 millimeters. May pagbabago ba doon? Gaano karaming tubig ang dala nitong krising?
Sa ngayon po ay halos yun na po ang nakikita po nating magiging pag-ulan po dito sa Metro Manila. Nasa 50 to 100 pero mas malalakas po yan dito po sa bahagi po ng Antique, Occidental Mindoro at dito po sa bahagi po ng western portion ng Negros Island region, maging dito sa western portion po ng mainland Luzon.
Okay. Wala na po ba kayong minomonitor pa sa Philippine Area, napapasok sa Philippine Area of Responsibility?
Base po sa TC threat po na pinalabas po ng ating Climatological Division ay likely po by next week meron pong isang sama ng panahon pong i-monitor po ulit ang Pag-asa. Early next week po yan.
Okay, we will get back to you on that once that happens. But in the meantime, I guess it's good that this hasn't ravaged any town, but we shall prepare for the landfall over in Cagayan and up north and all the weather that it may bring. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Pag-asa weather forecaster Glyza Esculiar, for the updates right from the Pag-asa headquarters. Meanwhile, Cagayan has been placed under red alert status as tropical storm Krising threatens to make landfall in the province. The alert activates full disaster response protocols, including the deployment of emergency teams, pre-positioning of relief goods, and close monitoring of high-risk areas. Several towns in the province, including Alcala, Apari, Amulong, Enrile, Gataran, Peña Blanca, and Solana, are under close watch due to potential flooding. In Tuguegarao City, road clearing and tree trimming operations were conducted to prevent blockages and minimize damage from strong winds and heavy rains. Meanwhile, the National Irrigation Administration announced that one spillway gate of Magat Dam will be open at 9 a.m. today, releasing around 150 cubic meters per second of water to prevent overflow. The Department of Social Welfare and Development assured the public that sufficient relief goods are pre-positioned for evacuees who may be affected by the storm.
Yung ating mga preparedness naman na Ma'am Cheryl, since madalas kaming dinadaanan dito ng bagyo, naka-pre-position na po yung ating lahat ng mga assets po natin, floating and land assets.
Now, from watching our dams to our lakes, a minor phreatomagmatic eruption occurred at Taal volcano on Thursday afternoon. 3 short eruptive events were recorded at the main crater, producing a plume that rose 2,400 meters before drifting southeast. The events were preceded by a tremor with activity captured through seismic, infrasound, and visual monitoring. Now, despite the eruption, alert level 1 remains in effect. Now, earlier this week, 2 volcanic quakes and a 5-minute tremor were also recorded. And in that Taal Lake, 4 sacks containing suspected human remains were recovered by PCG divers on the 7th day of search operations. Here is a report.
Taal volcano experienced a minor phreatomagmatic eruption on Thursday afternoon, July 17, amid the 7th day of the search for the missing Sabongeros. Maria Antonia Bornas, chief of the FIVOX Volcano Monitoring Division, emphasized that the eruption will not affect the Philippine Coast Guard's search and retrieval operations in Taal Lake. Bornas explained that the volcanic plume drifted southeast, opposite the retrieval site located in the northwest portion of the lake. Shortly before the eruption, divers discovered 4 white and blue sacks.
May nahanap sa Taal Lake na human remains in the area pointed to us by our sources that were also identified by Totoy. This time, in the specific area, in the quadrant, kasi ano yan dinivide by quadrant yan yung area. In the specific quadrant, pointed out to us as a site where people were being disposed of.
The items were immediately taken to the PCG's command post, then turned over to PNP Forensics in Batangas, and eventually transferred to Camp Crame for further analysis. Previously, 4 other sacks had been recovered from Taal Lake. A total of 91 bone fragments have been gathered, with 6 identified as human. Meanwhile, the municipal government of Laurel, Batangas has begun distributing relief goods to affected fisherfolk. The LGU reported that at least 6 barangays have been impacted by the week-long search. These are Balakilong, Gulod, Buso-Buso, Bugaan East, Berinayan, and Leviste. Local officials are currently studying the possibility of declaring a state of calamity to address the economic effects of the ongoing operations.
As of now ay pinag-aaralan po na kung idideklara po ang state of calamity sa lokal na pamahalaan. Nasa pag-aaral pa po ito sapagkat pinapakiramdaman pa rin po natin ang economic status ng ating bayan. Dahil po sa mga sa nagaganap na pagbaba ng sales ng ating mga tilapia at bangus dito sa ating bayan.
When we return, let us break down the numbers as the Philippine Statistics Authority places the country's total population at 112.7 million. And the Department of Finance clarified that the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act, or CIMEPA, does not impose a new tax. Instead, the law aims to correct what the department described as an unfair system that favored the wealthy. All that and more, Good Morning Matters returns. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The country's population has reached 112.7 million based on a 2024 census released by the Philippine Statistics Authority. The latest count includes residents from all 18 regions and Filipinos stationed abroad as of July 1 last year. The population rose by 3.69 million from 2020, but annual growth slowed to 0.80%, down from 1.63% in the previous 5-year period. PSA cited declining birth rates, pandemic-related deaths, and lower migration as key reasons for the slowdown. To help us understand the numbers and what they mean for the country's future, we have Joseph Cahita, OIC Assistant National Statistician of the PSA, and he joins us now via Zoom. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Yes, good morning, ma'am. Thanks for this invite.
The population of the Philippines is now officially at 112 million in the latest 2024 census. What are the latest findings on that, the key takeaways?
Yes, ma'am. We have just released the official results of the 2024 Census of Population, and this was declared official for all purposes by the President by virtue of Proclamation number 973. So right now, we're releasing the headline population figures, and as indicated earlier, it's 112.729 million, and that translates to 0.80 population growth rate from 2020. And then looking at the figures for the regional distribution, we had Region 4A, and then NCR, and then Region 3, recording the largest population in 2024. And as usual, the least populated region is the Cordillera Administrative Region with 1.8 million.
Mm-hmm. And then ito nga po yung striking dito, no? Well, while the population has grown, the growth rate has slowed down. That is from, nabanggit po ninyo, yung 0.8%. From 1.63% from 2015 to 2020, naging 0.8% between 2020 to 2024. Ano po yung nag-cause po nung slowdown po na yun?
That basically mirrors the classic demographic transition. So nabanggit naman po natin kanina, from high fertility mortality to lower fertility mortality, driven by a lot of factors: urbanization, health improvements, and coming also from the 2020 pandemic, and then subdued migration as well. And then considering na mababa na yung fertility natin, so as recorded in the National Demographic Health Survey, nasa 1.9. So nasa past replacement na po tayo, specifically in highly urbanized cities.
According to putting this into context, no, I mean, these numbers will only mean something if it relates to the growth of a population. Ano po yung healthy levels? Are we still within that? And ano po ang impression dito ng PSA? Is this slowdown something that is welcome or something that we need to work on to improve it further? I mean, 112 million population of the Philippines. Marami-rami po tayo kumpara sa ibang bansa. Ano po yung pagtanggap dito, appreciation ng PSA?
With the 0.80 na annual population growth rate, ang ibig sabihin lang nito, stabilize na yung ating population, and then over the years naman, pababa na naman talaga yung population natin, coming from 1.60. So basically, it's a good indicator also na na-control yung population.
Okay.
And as we look forward, siguro in the next census rounds, bababa pa ito, and as expected.
Ano po ang ibig sabihin nung effects of migration? I mean, subdued migration activity is a cause of that slower growth rate. What do you mean by that?
Coming from 2020 kasi, di ba, maraming mga bumabalik and then nakabawi lang after post-pandemic. So, basically, we are saying, kung i-relate natin sa fertility, most of those na lumabas naman, mga women of reproductive age. So nasubdued yung mga pregnancies, and then ma-relate na rin natin sa lower fertility level. So bumaba yung mga birth rates na.
Because usually yung nagmamigrate yan yung mga
Mga women natin of
Oo.
reproductive age.
adult age na or young
Yeah.
professionals. Okay. Of course, this is affected by the pandemic, the fertility and birth rate. But yun, mga nabanggit mo naman na regions ho, ano po nakikita natin doon sa mga nagre-register ng higher population? So what does the data tell us? Because I believe there is an increase in the BARM region.
Sa BARM naman, naiiba lang ang BARM kasi mataas talaga ang fertility sa BARM. And then, yung population trends naman sa BARM ever since, sila talaga yung fast growing na region. Unlike with the other regions. Now, in highly urbanized cities naman, and basically we're saying about yung sa mga growth areas ng mga regions, specifically in Region 4, NCR, and Central Luzon, after the pandemic, nagbabalikan naman din sila. Kaya ganun pa rin yung trends natin sa population in these areas.
Okay. Paano po ginawa itong census na to? Ano po yung proseso ng PSA in documenting everybody o the whole Philippine population?
So we conducted the nationwide census July to September 2024. So house to house po tayo. And then we use the computer-assisted population interview natin, tinatawag natin copy. We use tablets in interviewing our households. And then we employ more than 160,000 enumerators nationwide just for these big operations.
How many volunteers?
We hired a total workforce of 160,000. So that includes our
160,000.
census enumerators, team supervisors, census area supervisors.
Okay. Actually, parang na-interview nga po ko, naalala ko nga last year,
Yes,
parang
ma'am.
mayroon po ako sinay na tablet. Sabi ko, ano to, bakit nagpunta yung PSA sa bahay ko? Pero, but you know, we do understand that people sometimes go from the city to the province. Paano po yun? Yung mga ganun na tinatanong niyo po sila kung saan talaga yung main residence nila, tapos doon niyo sila sinisenso sa lugar na yun? Paano, how do you prevent
Yes, ma'am.
double
Okay.
counting?
The jury kasi yung concept nating population, so that means yung usual place of residence. So meron po tayong mga parameters kung paano i-qualify na ito yung usual place of residence natin. So usually, kung hindi tayo umuwi sa, kung halimbawa, dito ka sa Maynila, and then on a weekly basis umuwi ka ng Cavite, you are supposed to be counted in Cavite. So yung ganun po na mga definitions at parameters natin on the inclusion and exclusions.
Oho. Paano po yung mga nasa condominium na nakatira? Paano po natin sila pinupuntahan? Hindi naman pwedeng unit to unit po yun. I mean, how do you track the number of people inside?
We have coordination with mga condo administrators, and then also, hindi lang sa condominiums, yung mga exclusive subdivisions. We have some coordination with the officials, mga homeowners associations, and then meron kaming mga naka-schedule by appointments in order to interview yung mga unit owners or yung mga nakatira sa mga condo units na ito.
Does this data capture the late registrations of birth?
Meron kaming data items sa census on ang question namin doon ay kung ang kanyang birth ba ay na-registered or not. But we don't have information whether it was delayed or on-time registration. So the question was, is your birth registered in the local civil register?
So, meron po ba tayong data doon kung gaano karami po yung nakapag-register?
Hindi pa siya nakakalabas ngayon. In coming months, kasama na po siya sa i-release ni PSA along with the other demographic.
Sabagay kasi ano ho yun, face-to-face, kaya technically
Yes, ma'am.
parang pag nakita mo na yung tao, tinanong mo kung ilan na yung anak niya, you get a good sense of iilan nga sa bahay. Pero in terms of the composition of families, I mean, do we have data on that? Like, what's the current trend? Ilan po yung nagiging anak ng bawat pamilya? Dumadami po ba? Kumukunti po ba? And pagdating sa urban center, sa rural, ano po yung pagkakaiba? Do we have data specific down to that level?
Kasama po yan. We're talking about the household membership, the household size, and then we computed the average household size. But right now, hindi pa siya kasama dito sa na-publish natin ng mga reports. But in the coming months, may papalabas na po natin para ma-determine at makikita yung family size or average household size. But mostly, in our observation, medyo bumababa po ang ating household size. So parang with the emerging demographic structure, particularly doon sa mga family structures, dumarami yung mga lumiliit na mga household sizes.
Well, of course, sabi nyo nga, no, it could mean, on one hand, that the population has stabilized and that we have taken better control over the growth of the population. But that, of course, is yet to be seen and put into its proper context. Kung birth control measures ba ito o nadi-discourage na yung mga kabataan na magkaroon ng anak, I mean, given the happenings all over the world. Pero ito pong population po natin, ano po ang age range? Karamihan po ay anong edad?
Makikita natin yan in the coming releases kasi papalabas natin yung age, sex, composition. But right now, nakikita namin, nasa gitna pa naman po tayo. Although, papunta na po tayo, hindi naman po tayo aging population pa.
And I guess that bodes well for the Philippines because in other countries, they have already been seeing this as a problem na tumatanda na yung kanilang populasyon. So malayo naman po tayo doon. We have a robust workforce to work with.
Sa ngayon, yes po. But in the next census years, decennial census tayo. Sa susunod, baka pababa na talaga tayo. And then there will be more grandparents than children going to school.
Well, what's next after the release of this data? How will the PSA census be used or could it be used by other agencies?
For one, yung population counts kasi natin kaya kinakailangan this has to be declared official by the President through a presidential proclamation because this is used by the Department of Budget and Management for the NTA allocation sa LGUs. And then for planning purposes also for other government agencies when it comes to housing, social services, and then other economic programs as well.
Ito po ay yung data po na kinuha po ninyo, meron po ba itong social stratification? I mean, yung in terms of income, in terms of capacity, may ganun din po ba kayong nakuhang datos?
Hindi po siya kasama sa census of population. And yung ibang mga datos na yan, makukuha po natin sa ibang surveys na kinakonduct ng PSA. Like for instance, sa Family Income and Expenditure Survey.
Pero doon sa 112 million, gaano karami po doon na nakatira sa urban at gaano karami sa rural?
May papalabas po natin ang datos na yan in the coming months. Kasama po yan doon sa other demographic characteristics and other social characteristics po natin.
Okay, mukhang i-invite po namin kayo ulit kasi marami kami gustong malaman. Ayun nga lang, ito pa lang yung pwedeng pag-usapan at ma-release ng PSA. But for now, no, we hope...
population data lang po tayo ngayon. And then down to
How
the
often is this census conducted? Is it yearly?
Every 10 years yung ating decennial census and then meron din tayong Medicaid census. And this one is a Medicaid census. So basically we're saying every 5 years.
Every 5 and 10?
Yes,
lalabas po. Oo. All right, okay. We hope this guides policy decision making and helps us plan better for the future of our country. Maraming salamat po, Joseph Cahita. We have OIC, Assistant National Statistician of the PSA National Census Service, joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning.
The Department of Finance clarified that the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act does not introduce a new tax, but instead seeks to fix what is described as an unfair system that favored the wealthy. According to the DOF, the measure standardizes the tax on interest income at 20%, removing the preferential tax treatment previously given to long-term deposits. This, the department said, ensures a more equitable system that benefits regular Filipino savers. Ultimately, the DOF said CMEPA is designed to simplify tax compliance, attract more participation in the capital markets, and foster a fairer and more inclusive financial system. Controlling inflation remains the most urgent national concern among Filipinos. That's according to the latest Pulse Asia survey. The June 26 to 30 poll showed that 62% of respondents cited rising prices as their top concern, down from 72% last year, but still the highest priority. Next on the list were increasing workers' pay, reducing poverty, creating more jobs, and fighting corruption. Meanwhile, 64% of Filipinos said staying healthy is their most urgent personal concern, followed by securing a well-paying job and building up savings. It's a story about food, but it's also a story about home and the lengths our countrymen will go to protect it. We will be joined next in the studio by acclaimed director Baby Ruth Villarama to discuss her powerful new documentary, Food Delivery, fresh from the West Philippine Sea. All that and more when Morning Matters returns. Good morning, I'm Rachel, and you're watching Morning Matters. Filipino documentary Food Delivery, fresh from the West Philippine Sea, has been officially cleared by the MTRCB for public screening with a PG rating. Now, previously pulled from a local festival due to unspecified external factors, the documentary centers on Filipino fishermen, the Coast Guard, and Navy operations around the Scarborough Shoal, a disputed territory within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. MTRCB Chairperson Lala Soto Antonio said the agency supports socially relevant storytelling while ensuring content remains appropriate for younger audiences. The film recently earned international recognition, winning the Tides of Change Award at the Dock Edge Festival 2025 in New Zealand. Let's take a look at the official trailer. Joining us today to talk about that film is award-winning filmmaker Baby Ruth Villarama, director of Food Delivery, fresh from the West Philippine Sea. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Oh, grabe, ang dami palang ganun kadami isda sa Scarborough ba yun?
Yeah, that's Scarborough. It's very rich in marine life, and it's a real treasure.
Yung eksena na yun, talagang hinabol yung fisherman ng Chinese Coast Guard?
Yeah, Chinese Coast Guard. They've been monitoring them, and there's a certain rule that if they enter beyond the 30 nautical mile before Scarborough, then they'll be chased by Chinese Coast Guard.
Your film has caused quite the scene. It was actually pulled out. That specific film was pulled out of the festival that gave it life. And syempre, this was also protested by Chinese diplomats, particularly the showing of it, not just in the Philippines, but also in New Zealand. So what was the particular danger of showing it? I mean, here locally, first, nasa Pilipinas tayo, pero bakit kaya hindi naipalabas?
Yeah. I think there's an interesting storyline for documentary films here in the Philippines, especially independent documentaries, that they seem like powers that be are afraid to know the real truth about our people. Food delivery is made as a personal love letter to Filipino fishermen and to the country at large, and also to reach out to our friends in China to hear our side of the story. So banning it in the Philippines and censoring it, not to be seen by people, I mean, it puts you into question, who runs this country na ba? Like who? But why the influence? Of course, as a documentary journalist, you also ask this question, like, we're doing this simple story, we want to empower our people, we want to inspire them, but it seems like some sectors don't want that.
And then what happened after that? After it was pulled out from this film festival, paano kayo napunta sa New Zealand?
Siyempre, as independent filmmakers, of course, we were grieving and like, where do we go next? And then friends came in and then they said, why don't you apply to this different film festival? Of course, the film was originally designed for this local film festival, which we are so grateful because they supported the film from the start and they selected it. So I'm sure, there's a reason behind an external factor.
Usually, ganyan naman yung mga tao sa mga nakakausap mo, okay naman eh. Usually, it happens in the top level,
in
right?
In the top level.
Oo, when something gets asked, then hindi na naipaliwanag sa inyo kung bakit.
No, they did not give us any reason. It's just that, of course, we have to also protect the other films in that festival. So we just decided to, we'll step behind.
How would you endanger these films exactly?
Because
By
there's
showing
also a
this?
possibility that the local festival might be canceled. If
you guys pushed on.
Yeah, we guys pushed on. So that was explained to us. And of course, we don't want that to happen. And we want to champion other films and also the longevity of that local film festival that we all support din naman.
Well, will your film found its home in New Zealand? Congratulations, nanalo kayo ng award. What was the specific award in Doc Edge?
It's Best Picture under the
Wow, galing.
change of the. I know, we were so surprised. Because, I mean, those films that were included in the festival, they were so amazing. From the U.S., from Indonesia, all the way to France. Out of, I think, more than 1,000 entries, 33 were selected. And then, we won an award, so we were very grateful.
Galing.
It's
Telling
really
the
for
story
us.
of the Filipino fishermen. How did you approach this documentary? I mean, so many stories have been told already on the West Philippine Sea. Araw-araw natin napapanood sa balita yan. Paano mo ginawa yung storytelling?
Really, for us kasi as, I guess, as independent filmmakers, we're not really bound by any corporate limitation. So we just went down to the personal. We want to capture the human side of the issue because we all see it in the news, and we want to offer something to our reporters who have been covering these stories for a long time, and watching them being chased by Chinese small vessels, militia vessels. Parang it breaks our heart also. Parang is that the way to go within our own waters? So we just went deep to the personal stories of their fisher folk, and we thought food is a common ground that we can all share. I think it's a universal feeling that everybody's craving for something good. So we just studied where is the food here. So we discovered about food security, also the voice of China, or their interest. Why are they interested in the West Philippine
Bakit nga ba?
Sea? Anong meron?
Pagkain ba?
Pagkain, economic advantage because our country is positioned very, very well strategically. As a fortress. If you look at the map, our country is like a gateway to this side of the world. So controlling the west part of our country is like being at the gate of the entire region. Yeah, trade routes and even security, maritime patrol. So and also the resources beneath the West Philippine Sea. And what we discovered, it's so beautiful. Ang ganda pala niya. It's like an explorer's dream, a billionaire's paradise. Like if you look at these small islands, and if you're a billionaire, you would want to buy these
small
islands.
islands na tinutukoy mo nasang bahagi ng West Philippine Sea?
Nasa Spratly siya. So we visited 5, the Lawak, yung mga Patag.
Inisa-isa nyo?
Inisa-isa.
Ito yung may
oo.
parang military outpost, ano?
Yes, kasi nag-deliver din ng pagkain doon dahil they're in the middle of nowhere. Para silang little prince na ang
What
liit.
food did you deliver to the soldiers?
Sustenance, like packs, anything that would last them for months. Because they don't know when's the next food delivery would arrive because of the situation. So, like,
Actually, ang hinahanap nila doon, yung mga
actually, ang hinahanap nila, panggisa,
bawang, sibuyas.
malamig na soft drinks, hindi kasi sabihin yung brand, but
okay.
they're really craving for yung mga...
Lalo na puro alat.
So they want
ang
something
lalasahan
sweet,
nila.
they want ice cream, they want something, cool, and hindi naman canned goods, but yun nga, yung siguro seafood, marami sila they can catch that fresh, but something na mamimiss sila, mga hot dogs, or Gatorade, yung mga ganun. Ay, nagbanggit na ako ng brand. So,
Tapos pumunta rin kayo sa may Scarborough Shoal, sa Baho de Masinloc.
yeah.
Nag-deliver din kayo ng pagkain doon?
Doon naman mga fisher folks kasi they're the one delivering food to our table. So it's important that we capture also their heroism and their silent dignity and the sacrifices that they go through for us to have fresh seafood in our table. So from ocean to table.
Kumbaga sila yung natin, parang
sila yung
producers of
producers,
food.
yeah.
And dito sa may Kalayaan, kayo nag-deliver. Because for people to understand, because I did not understand this until I went there myself. In the fisher folk community is most affected over at Baho de Masinloc sa may Zambales area. Kasi yun yung malapit sa coastline na napupuntahan.
Yeah.
Pero pagdating dito sa Spratlys, actually, malayo yun eh. Yun yung disputed ng Vietnam, ng Taiwan, ng China at ng Pilipinas. And usually, the smaller fishing vessels could not make it very far. Kailangan mid-size ka or yung talagang malaking barko.
Yeah.
Kaya it's more of like yung pinaglalaban natin doon, yung mga rights natin, ano?
Rights talaga. Oo.
oo.
Kasi once, external forces or our friends in China occupy this territory, it's so near to us, especially Scarborough Shoal. Within 14 hours, they can, land in Luzon. And they're there. Kumbaga, 2 big ships were there guarding Scarborough Shoal. And it's a sanctuary for fisher folk. Even like Vietnamese fishermen, pag naligaw sila, sabi nga nila, even though we don't understand each other's language, doon sila tatambay kasi masama ang panahon, and then nagiinuman lang sila. Pero ngayon, dahil wala na makapasok, so wala na yung friendship na ganon. So,
Hinabol ba kayo? Because they're also very sensitive to people with cameras.
yeah.
I mean, may nagka-encounter ba kayo when you were shooting out at sea?
It's gonna be in the film, so
Hindi namin pwede sabihin. Hindi namin pwede malaman.
yeah, I would like to invite everyone. But it's in the film.
Okay,
kasi,
okay.
yeah.
Let's not reveal too much. But,
Ang daming nangyari talaga. Ang
This
daming
has been
discoveries.
tagged as full of disinformation and propaganda by the Chinese side. How did you go about the truth-telling? Because apart from, you are director of Sunday Beauty Queen, which I watched, by the way, and which is spectacular. Ang ganda ng docu na yun.
Salamat po.
On the other end, you're working also as a documentarist, as a journalist, so getting the facts right is important. How did you balance all of that, the facts?
Well, we did not enter this project definitely with a naive mind. We have to know the facts, and we have to also get all sides possible and understand them. So for us, it's always a balance of information and emotions. The humanity of it, because information, I mean, that's a fact. That's our 5 W's and the H. But when it comes to emotions, we have to understand the price of what's happening, like what's at stake here. Where are we at? How are we protecting our people? What is our relationship with our land? And it's all about boundaries. And I mean, it's if you watch the film, it's not about West Philippine Sea in general, but it's also a mirror of yourself. Like when somebody invades your privacy, how do you draw the line there? And who are you in the grand scheme of things? It's also about your personal identity. Reflecting. Who are you? Like, of course, we are a global country exposed to different information coming from different direction. But where do you stand? Do you accept? Do you just flow? Do you just surrender? Or do you make a stand to protect your own personal boundary? So it might be a story about the West Philippine Sea, but actually it's a story about ourselves.
And you bring it down to the personal. Ang
We
galing.
have to bring it down to the
Kasi
personal.
pagka nakikita mo kasi at hindi ka masyadong aware, parang ang overwhelming eh. I mean,
Yeah.
nung kwento ng West Philippine Sea, that tumitingin tayo sa dagat, napakalawak na dagat, sino
Ang
ba
layo
nag-aaway.
pa. Yeah.
Oo. Pero pagka tama ka, pagka binalik mo sa bakuran mo at may nag-trespassing, anong gagawin mo? So those are the questions that your main characters are fighting against or
Yeah.
struggling with.
Yeah, and as audience, that's the reflection that you'd be able to get.
Pero ikaw,
Hopefully.
anong mga realization mo? I mean, syempre, kami, nasa balita kami araw-araw. Ano yung difference? I mean, between what you were seeing on TV every day, reading in the news, and actually being there?
Ako, na-realize ko lang, our fisher folk are the wisest people. They're the wisest people we've met. Surprisingly, na-surprise ako doon. They understand the sea like no one. They know na in an hour uulan. And we're like, Ang init. In an hour nga. Parang, oh my God, uulan nga. And may ganun sila. Like,
It's intuitive for
It's
them.
intuitive. They know the direction. They know how to protect themselves. And their life is really like a symbol of freedom. Like being there, kasi tayo ang layo natin, di ba? We're in the comforts of our urban life here. But for them, the sea is life, and the sea provides so much for them. And it's this wisdom of being grateful to what they have and that kind of love that they have to their environment. Sa akin parang, wow, ito yung totoong Pilipino. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves na dapat ganito tayo. Minsan parang na-overlook natin yung mga maliliit na bagay. Pero parang pinapaalala nila na, hey, ito yung mas mahalaga sa buhay. And for us, it's a realization of, okay, we're discovering something more lasting here and they're offering it to us. So it's not about us looking down on them or, expressing our sympathy with them, but it's them teaching us something. So yun yung parang, whoa.
How much have they been impacted by this conflict?
Oh my God, a lot. A lot. Like, they go there for 10 days, for 2 weeks, and then they go back to the shore. May mga frozen fish na almost in their expiration date, na nasa markado na. Hindi nila alam kung saan galing. And then, pagdating nila dun sa payaw nila, di ba yung payaw, they invest hundreds of thousands of pesos. Pagdating nila dun, sira na, or nawala na yung isda, may kumuha na. So, ikaw, as a person, di ba, tinanim mo yan, inalagaan mo yan, nag-out of town ka, pagbalik mo,
Pero ang
wala
kwento
na.
sa amin doon ay pwedeng ibang kapwa Pinoy din ang kumukuha, no? Kasi daw, syempre, pag may shortage,
Well, that's also what's happening because a lot of commercial vessels cannot anymore fish in the international water, in the EEZ.
So, nag-aagawan na dito sa...
Pumapasok na
mas
sa
malapit.
malapit. So, that's also what's at stake here. Nagkakaroon na ng
Fighting for resources.
Yeah, inbreeding fighting, if we may call it like that. So, yun yung nakakalungkot. Kasi ang lawak-lawak ng dagat. I mean, it's so big. We can all share it. And respect lang, it's a universal law. Each country has that 200 nautical mile EEZ. Pati nga ako, parang natutunan ko na rin yan. Ang laki-laki ng South China Sea, parang why this 200 nautical mile, dito sila nagkaka-interest. At naapektuhan talaga yung mga mangingisda natin.
Pagdating sa mga isda, nag-focus ba kayo sa Zambales? I mean, which
Yeah.
which town? is it,
Subic, Kalapandayan.
doon kayo.
Kasi
Sa Subic.
doon sila talaga yung pumupunta talaga sa West Philippine Sea. Ng malayo. Andun yung mga payaw nila.
Gano'ng katagal kayo out at sea?
Like 18 hours to go there. And then, actually, yung experience na to witness their traditional way of fishing, the simbada.
Yung ganon, yung
Yeah,
yung
yung
may spear?
Nakita natin sa teaser.
Yun yung mismo.
That's very traditional. So yung sinasabi ng China, no, nagda-dynamite fishing. Hindi totoo nagda-dynamite fishing. Kasi nga may payaw eh. How can you do dynamite fishing kung may mga payaw yan? Nag-invest ka. So ang ganda lang ng sustainability model ng mga mangingisda natin.
Gusto ko sana tanongin, pero baka ma-spoil na natin yung film mo. Gusto ko malaman ano nangyari doon sa catch. But,
Yeah.
but we will get to that in your film. You dealt with sensitivities, with the bureaucracy, of course, going through national security protocols.
Oh my God.
AFP and the Philippine Coast Guard and the Philippine Navy. Kamusta yun?
Sabi nga namin, that's another film in itself. Going through the bureaucracy, no? Parang as independent filmmakers, ikaw na yung nag-o-offer na gusto po naming tumulong sa taas po ng bandila natin. Pero sila parang due to siguro may mga protocol silang fina-follow. Time is never on our side when it comes to them. We had to wait for a long time. And there came a point na yung production manager namin, parang, sir, alam ko general ka, pero kung hindi po niyo pa kami bibigyan ng permit, tatagalin na namin kayo sa kwento. Kasi buo na naman yung kwento ng mga mangingisda eh. But of course, we wanna recognize the service of our soldiers. Kasi hindi rin madali yung ginagawa nila. So, importante rin na sino ba yung mga gumagalaw sa West Philippine Sea and their personal lives. So, last minute na yon, end of January na kami nakapag-shoot. And imagine the festival, March? Tapos end of January, doon ka palang lalaot sa Spratlys.
And you had 1 hour to go around an island, tama ba?
Yeah.
Which island was this?
Lawak.
Ay, Lawak Island.
Lawak, yeah. Originally, syempre ang request, 1 week. Para at least we can
Nakapagpag-asa
document.
din kayo?
No more na. O, talagang yung Spratly lang. Yung 5 na features.
Ano yung
na island na yun.
pinakamalaking hamon, no? Na na-face po ninyo dito sa pag-film nyo?
I think for us, it's really the time. Kasi, time is always your ally in documentary filmmaking. The more time you have, of course, the more
deeper the
truth,
story.
the deeper the story goes, and the more truth is revealed. Yun lang, since 1 hour lang yung binigay ng ating AFP, best effort na lang. Na-capture naman natin because we spent time dun sa ship, dun sa naval ship that we stayed on. So, dun na lang din kami nag-concentrate.
Gusto ko yung sinagot mo time, hindi cost.
Hindi ko na nga inisip yung cost. Actually, producer na yan. Sumasakit yung ulo ng producer.
Because, kami, usually gagawin namin, sasampa kami sa boat ng pupunta doon. Makikisakay kami. I mean, kayo, how did you go with that? I mean, with the limitations in finances? Because it costs a lot to hire a ship to go out sea.
You mean with an...
Oo. So talagang sumabay kayo sa
Sumabay kami sa Rore nila. Kaya hindi rin kami
Sa
I guess it's
Rore
okay.
mission.
Sa Rore mission mismo.
Hindi naman kayo ng water cannon.
Almost, pero sige lang.
Okay, malalaman natin yan sa film.
Malalaman
Okay.
sa film.
You said that this focuses on food security. How much does the Philippines rely on the West Philippine Sea for its food? I mean, what did you discover about that particular theme?
One thing we learned is that most of the seafoods that we eat in hotels, in restaurants, here in Manila, and also the entire Luzon, like Pangasinan, Zambales, the entire Zambales, Bulacan, yung mga Pampanga, dun galing sa West Philippine Sea. So if, kumbaga, sumuko na yung mga mangingisda na ayaw na namin, so magugulat na lang tayo, hala, ba't wala na tayong seafood? So yung mga binibili natin sa Cubao, sa farmers market, doon nang
Doon galing? Kasi Zambales,
Yes, yeah. Even yung sa mga Malabon, kumbaga may relationship yung mga yan eh. Nakakarating, nag-deliver din sila as far as Cavite. So sila, kumbaga yan yung mga ports nila, yung mga merkado nila.
Okay. What is the narrative in? I mean, is it in Tagalog tapos mga subtitles na English?
Yeah, it's in English and Tagalog, may Bisaya.
Then you have the people talking
They're just
for
talking,
themselves.
Yeah, no narration, no God,
Tapos
voice of God.
may subtitles na
Yeah,
English.
subtitle na English.
Okay. Where else could we see food delivery? Can we watch it here in local cinemas? I mean, it doesn't have to be within that festival.
Yeah.
Posible ba yun?
Yeah, that's why we're here
Oo.
today because Rockwell opened its door to us.
Yes.
Thank you, Rockwell. We will have a Philippine homecoming premiere finally on July 27. So they can reach out. We'll post the details on our Facebook page, which is Voyage Studios and Voyage Film Studios Inc. on Instagram. And we're opening it to black screenings. So Rockwell, said that if there are groups...
Kailan ito?
From August 1 to 8. So
Okay,
if
1 week.
groups want to, do their fundraising and be show buyers, just reach out to food delivery at voyagefilm.com. And we also want to redefine how we distribute films. So we want to cater, use it for fundraising.
Pwede rin sa streaming, actually.
Pwede rin sa streaming. We submitted it to Netflix here, and I don't know.
Approve. Alam mo, isa pang idea dyan ay pwede nyo rin iikutin sa DepEd, sa schools natin, because if we're talking about educating Filipinos more on concepts in the West Philippine Sea, if you're able to break it down to the personal level, then I'm sure it will be poignant and powerful. And that is why it has made waves in the international scene. Congratulations po sa inyo.
Thank
Best
you.
picture ng Doc Edge in New Zealand. And we hope this travels far.
We hope so. This is the story of every Filipino who dares to be brave.
Without water cannons. Of course, lalaban natin. Okay, maraming salamat. We have filmmaker Baby Ruth Villarama joining us today. And here's another fighter. Manny Pacquiao returns to the ring this Sunday, July 20, to challenge Mario Barrios for the WBC welterweight title at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. The 45-year-old Pacquiao is aiming to reclaim championship glory nearly 3 years after his last professional bout. Motivated by the challenge, Pacquiao said he is eager to put on a show. Barrios, respectful but confident, expressed belief in retaining his belt while acknowledging Pacquiao's legacy. Baka pwede nating isabak si Manny Pacquiao sa West Philippine Sea, ano?
Pwede, oo.
Water cannon kaya siya.
Tatitindig kaya siya? I don't know what's his stand.
Titindig kaya siya. Mas magandang tanong yun.
Kasi yung mga politicians, sorry.
Okay, doon muna tayo sa safe. That wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day and the weekend matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. You're One News, all sides, all the time.